Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button if you guys are enjoying the content that we're throwing up. And make sure you guys hit the like button if you enjoy the video. And yeah, let's begin. What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and a couple things. Number one, patrons. We will be doing Invincible Part 4, I think we're covering. That'll be on Thursday, so that'll be tomorrow. The movers are coming today, and we kind of had a super busy day yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to do it for Tuesday, but next week it'll go back to being on Tuesday. And a lot of you guys have been asking why I haven't been covering a bunch of DC Comics stuff. Honestly, nothing DC Comics is making right now really interests me. There are a couple things like Batman, but for the most part, I'm just not really feeling any of the stuff that DC is making. So if you guys have any suggestions, go ahead and throw them down in the comments, and I'll go through and take a look at them, because maybe you guys are reading stories and I'm not. But at the moment, it's just like, I don't know, man. But on the other hand, Marvel has more stuff than I can keep up with. So it's not even me being a Marvel fanboy. It's just, as a comic book fan, that's just kind of where I stand, right? So what this does is this kicks off the really like the Phoenix Saga story, you know, for the most part, with regards to Jason Aaron. It's called Enter the Phoenix, right? Now, on the surface, when I initially saw this, I was like, man, I don't know, man, another Phoenix Saga story. But I kind of like the way this is done, right? The motivation behind it's pretty flimsy, but I like the way that it's done, right? This is really, 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 really cool, right? So in this video, we pick up with Doctor Doom versus Captain America, which I think is a great battle, right? It's a great little conflict here. So the way this picks up is we knew the Phoenix Force was basically coming back. And that's one of the things to understand about Jason Aaron's comic book work. If you look at this in isolation, it seems silly. But if you look at it in the nature of which Jason Aaron writes, which is usually building up to a bigger story, then it's just a simple stepping stone, is really all it is. The whole thing here is Captain America is basically kind of in this place. It almost looks like a forest or like Idrisil or something like that, and kind of talking about the nature of him as a hero, right? The nature of him as a character. And one of the things that he lays out here is that for him, he has this kind of life that he lives where he doesn't really see himself as being spectacular. And that was one of the things that kind of kept Steve Rogers grounded and kind of kept him pretty normal. It was really understanding his place in the bigger picture. Because the reality is Steve Rogers is just a guy who can run really fast and punch really hard, and he's good at battle strategy. And that's essentially it, right? There really is nothing special about Captain America. And there are a veritable mountain of characters who could overpower and destroy him with ease. What makes Captain America so significant in Marvel Comics is the fact that he is a battle-hardened guy, that he is so good with military strategy, the experience he brings to the table during his time in World War II, despite having been frozen for a number of years. But he's the guy who can basically organize the superhero community. He's the guy that everybody looks to when they're trying to figure out what they need to do when they're facing off a particular conflict, right? So Captain America's position in the superhuman community is really more of a position of respect and ceremony than just outright raw power. But it's one of these things where as soon, you know, in the middle of this whole thing where he's kind of musing and talking to himself, suddenly he's attacked by Doctor Doom, right? Now, the way that Jason Aaron writes Doctor Doom is amazing, because I love Doctor Doom as a character, right? I have always loved Doctor Doom as a character. He's not my absolute favorite, but I've always loved him as a villain of sorts, because he's so arrogant and so full of hubris that he refers to himself in the third person, right? Which is just downright arrogance. To not even refer to yourself as me and just refer to yourself in the third person, right? Like, what's going on, guys? This is Rob, and Rob is going to be talking about Avengers right now. Here's what Rob thinks when it comes to the Avengers story. Like, it sounds arrogant, right? It sounds funny, but it sounds arrogant at the same time. And I love that. But at the same time, Doom's also one of those guys where when things pop off, you want him on your side, man. Like, you want Doom to ally with you, because he just brings so much to the table. But it's one of these things where he kind of talks about this nature of the Phoenix Force and saying that what he has right now is a portion of the Phoenix Force's power. And he's kind of like, you know, this little fragment, this little portion that you gave me, Doom does not do aperitifs. You will give me the full totality of your power, right? We will end this farce of a tournament. It reminds me of the scene from Borat when he's talking to the chick and he's just like, I will look through your treasures now. That kind of a thing. Nonetheless, you know, it's basically Doctor Doom has received a portion of the Phoenix's power and is going toe-to-toe with Captain America, right? And the idea is to take, you know, or to eliminate Captain America in the tournament. Now, we don't really know the basis behind this tournament. We don't really know why it's happening. We'll find out here in a second. We just simply know that seemingly for Doctor Doom, killing off Steve Rogers is the only way for him to attain the full totality of the Phoenix's power. The problem with this is Captain America hits him with the shield, and when the shield comes back, the Phoenix Force has been imbued to Captain America, right? So we just took it off of Doctor Doom like that. Now, again, there's some stuff going on here that we haven't really seen before. We haven't really seen the Phoenix Force change possession like that, right? To change from, you know, use an inanimate object as a vector between itself and a host. Usually the Phoenix just bonds itself to a person, and that's basically it, right? I mean, even when you had Avengers versus X-Men and you had the Phoenix 5, it worked the same way, right? Granted, Iron Man basically screwed up the Phoenix Phoenix Force and split it into 5 separate pieces, but it's still bonded to individuals. And so it's really, really cool and interesting the way this is done, because Steve Rogers as a host for the Phoenix looks amazing. And that's what's so cool, is because this is just kind of another notch in the belt of Captain America. Captain America has had the Cosmic Cube. He's used it on more than one occasion. He had the Infinity Gauntlet. We saw that during the events of Jonathan Hickman's Avengers: The New Avengers, like the greatest comic book story ever told. It's one of these things where Captain America's done all kinds of stuff. He's lifted the hammer of Thor. He's controlled the casket of ancient wonders. We've seen him do all kinds of things, right? And so this is just kind of another notch in the belt of Steve Rogers. Now, what we end up doing is jumping back to an earlier point in time, and then this is when we really get our explanation in terms of what's going on here. And the idea is that basically just outside of Avengers Mansion, a volcano is essentially emerged, and the Phoenix Force is inhabiting this volcano. And so when the question of the Avengers is, how in the world did this thing get here, right? Like, what in the world is going on? That you basically end up having Namor the Submariner, who just kind of pops out of nowhere, and it's just like, I'm the one who did this, right? Like, I am the one who summoned the Phoenix to Earth. And it really seems to be, in a lot of ways, a simple vendetta, which is getting rid of the surface world. For Namor, it's a lot deeper than that, because the surface world has in a lot of ways been the cause of and the source of a lot of problems in the Atlantean world, right? Pollution, different things like that. And so it's a desire to just get rid of the surface dwellers. And so he effectively summoned the Phoenix to Earth, and then is going to bond with it in order to attain the Phoenix's power and just wipe out all humans across the surface. The problem is that as soon as he gets there, he's immediately met by Wolverine. Now, an important thing to understand is Wolverine was sent here by the X-Men. And the reason why is because we know just from Marvel's publication history, the X-Men have an exceedingly close tie with the Phoenix. Now, for those of you guys who are new to comics and you don't really know what that means, the important thing to really just grasp out of this is that Jean Grey was the first real Earth-based human to become a host for the Phoenix. More recently, Marvel's changed that, and they established that there were actually other people before Jean Grey who were a host for the Phoenix Force. But even with that being the case, Jean Grey was the first person to ever use the full totality of the Phoenix's power and then actually become a villain while she had the Phoenix's power. That was the whole idea behind the Dark Phoenix storyline. She essentially went crazy and ultimately ended up becoming a bad guy. And so the X-Men's history with the Phoenix Force is very, very strong, because then you have Rachel Summers, who's the daughter of Jean Grey and Cyclops from an alternate reality, who was a host for the Phoenix. Emma Frost, who was the leader of the X-Men at one point, had possession of the Phoenix Force. And so it's one of these things where the Phoenix is just almost intertwined with the mutant population inexorably, right? There's just no real way to eliminate that kind of relationship there. And so whenever the Phoenix shows up on Earth, the X-Men are not far behind, right? So that's one of the things to understand. If you ever see the Phoenix in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if the mutant population has not been established by then, it will very, very soon, right? I think that you'll see mutants established before the Phoenix Force, but that's just really kind of how those things work, right? And so it's kind of crazy, because you sort of jump back to the moment with Captain America and Dr. Doom fighting each other, and Captain America in possession of the Phoenix's power, and then in turn, Doom having his possession of the Phoenix's power, really just kind of go toe-to-toe and start battling each other. Now, as you would expect, because Dr. Doom is so capable, and because the Phoenix Force's abilities basically just augment his own powers, that he goes to kill Captain America. The problem is, it doesn't work, right? Like, it does not successfully work. Every time he tries to kill Captain America's willpower keeps him alive. And it's really just done by way of the fact that Captain America's willpower is kind of the main focus of his character, right? His desire to always win. So like, he always gets back up. He refuses to just kind of acquiesce and quit. And so because of that, it doesn't necessarily seem to be a battle to the death so much as a battle that will determine whose willpower is stronger, right? And so it's a really cool moment when that happens, because you literally have Steve Rogers where he's just kind of being pummeled over and over and over again, and sends out this psychic projection of his younger self, right? When he was very small, very scrawny. And in the end, that's really where his willpower comes from, right? The fact that even when he was a guy that couldn't do anything to anybody and was in probably his weakest form, he would still keep fighting, right? It's his conviction, his courage, his strength of character. That's what makes Steve Rogers who he is. Dr. Doom lacks that, right? Dr. Doom has conviction, but Dr. Doom's willingness to go the limits is only contingent based on whether or not he gains a personal benefit to something. He doesn't fight for anybody but himself, right? That's really kind of how Dr. Doom works. And so once he realizes that Steve Rogers will always be resurrected and the Phoenix Force will never let him die, then he's just kind of like, okay, fine, then I acquiesce, right? I quit. Like, Doom forfeits this thing. And ultimately, Doom is whisked away. Now, kind of jumping back to the current moment and getting a bit of a full-on and really more tangible explanation here, that you end up having, again, this kind of revelation given by Namor. Wolverine and Namor sort of fight for a little while. The rest of the Avengers show up and face off against the forces of Namor from Atlantis, and then suddenly the Phoenix emerges, right? The Phoenix finally just sort of appears and then descends down, and then ultimately ends up just kind of basking everybody in the area in the glow of its power, and then just starts snatching people away, right? So T'Challa, Namor the Submariner, Thor, right? Carol Danvers, Captain America, just all these various people who were here, and seemingly other people in different parts of the world. And so again, that's where things are kind of bonkers. Avengers. It's a cool moment, and it's awesome to really see that take place. And so following the defeat, or really the acquiescence of Doctor Doom kind of forfeiting in this and then giving up, seemingly Captain America is transported back to the White Hot Room. Now, we don't actually know if that's where he's at, but it looks like that's where he's at. For those of you guys who are new to comics, the White Hot Room is one of these things where it's kind of depicted and explained in different ways in Marvel Comics. The most common explanation that comic book fans go with is that it is at the center of the M'Kraan crystal, which is basically this crystal that's kind of like a gateway to the multiverse, right? So if you were to enter the M'Kraan crystal, it would be like walking through a hallway of doors, and you could access any multiverse by going through the crystal. If you were to like destroy one of the doors, quote unquote, or destroy the access point to that universe, it would actually start sucking that universe in, and it would basically lead to that universe's destruction, right? So destroying a door in the hallway of doors that makes up the M'Kraan crystal would lead to the destruction of a universe. Destroy enough of those or fracture the M'Kraan crystal and you'll destroy the multiverse, right? The M'Kraan crystal will quite literally turn into a multiversal black hole and start sucking everything in. And then ultimately it'll create a new Big Bang and everything will be born again. But regardless of how you slice it, the White Hot Room is basically just where those individuals who are either possessed by the Phoenix and are using the full totality of its power or being held by the Phoenix end up residing, right? So again, we're just kind of assuming that's the case. We're not given a definitive explanation, but because of the fact that Captain America is the one who arrives back here, seemingly Captain America won, right? You've got Jennifer Walters, She-Hulk, you've got Wolverine, and you've got T'Challa who are here. Of course, you also have Namor the Submariner, and then you have several other people. And that's what's so cool, is it basically shows us there's a ton of people who are here, right? You've got Luke Cage, you got Howard the Duck, which is awesome. You've got Hyperion, which by the way, when Hyperion gets the Phoenix Force, it looks amazing. Like it's stupidly cool. But you've got Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, which I love Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. And then you got Man-Thing, right? So like you got Black Knight, you got a whole host of characters here, Shang-Chi, that kind of a thing, right? You got a bunch of folks going on here. So ultimately, these guys are the ones participating in this tournament. And seemingly, it will just kind of continue to bounce around until ultimately a victor is formed. So with that being said, guys, we're going to bring this to an end. If you guys are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like, and I will catch you all later. Peace.